He had no idea where these drones are coming from.
This includes strategic and tactical aircraft, as well as cruise missiles and drones.
That folds its wings during flight to transition between rotorcraft.
Let's go.
I believe I've cracked this whole drone thing. I'm a barely literate comic book artist, and I figured it out. And I'm the first to propose this theory. It is not science fiction. It is not weird. I'm only using quotes from these people. I hope you'll let me build my case. I'm John Mike Keene. Let's go.
You know, this started as some questions, and now it's reached a point of almost insanity. You think about a United States senator who has to go out with the local police to look for drones. That's where a United States senator is getting information. We had a briefing from the state police, the colonel in the state police. He was frustrated. He had no idea where these drones are coming from.
Now, one thing that we know about all these drones, they look really familiar. They've got a red blinking light on one wing. They've got a green blinking light on the other wing. They are not trying to obviously break the law. If they were adversarial, they would ignore our laws. They don't ignore our laws. They're strangely law-abiding, as if they're coming from America, because they are coming from America.
Not only did I call for a limited state of emergency and the FAA shutting down the airspace for drones, but also having the Department of Defense come in and answer questions. If the Department of Defense doesn't know where the origins are for these so-called drones, then we're in trouble. We always thought that if there was something in the air the size of a car, that the Department of Defense would know where it came from, what its origin was, and what its purpose was. Now you have a United States senator going out with the local police, to look for fireworks at night? That is scary.
It is terrifying. Like Caitlin just reported, President-elect Trump is calling for government transparency, which you are as well. He's saying maybe shoot them down if we don't get any more information. What is your reaction to that?
Well, I would leave that up to the Department of Defense. But how can the Department of Defense not provide information to the public? This is a shock to me. You know, I have a general belief in government, but this is taking me to the end of my belief that government is really being honest. Now, there's been some apparently top secret briefings, right, with Congress people. Now, they come out of that, and I heard Josh Gottheimer come, the representative, and he said, well, I'm not getting a lot of information, but I don't think it's a threat. So my guess is there is information, but they're holding it back. And now what you have is panic.
The drones, they are not the threat. The Defense Department knows what the drones are because they're from the Defense Department. They are defending us from a threat. I'll make my case, and I think I can convince you. Just hold on a little longer.
So the Department of Defense has to come clean with the American public.
So to your point, the FBI says they have no evidence of malicious activity or intent in these drone flights. What is it that they might not be telling us, and why?
Well, no evidence that this is a threat. What does that mean?
Right.
How does that help an average citizen and understand? No evidence of a threat? You mean they didn't do anything sinister yet? Well, yet every single person, Democrat or Republican, has been calling for the same thing. That's why I have some concern that there is something very secret going on, because how did the people with the technology have no idea, except it's not, if they're saying it's not a threat, it must be something going on that's real top secret.
Something's going on that's real top secret, and the drones are not the threat. He's getting close. He's on the right path.
Why would the government allow the public to be so frustrated?
Right.
Why would the government allow a United States senator to be so frustrated? We heard this from both sides of the aisle. Now, that brings to me to the point that whatever these drones are doing, the government really doesn't want us to know. What that must mean is they're more concerned with us getting knowledge and being afraid of that information than having no knowledge and having all these questions. That's why I'm worried about it. There must be something going on that they can't tell us because they are so fearful of what the public's going to do when they hear what the drones are doing. There's no way the Department of Defense does not know what's going on.
Thank you. The Department of Defense knows what's going on, and telling you, the public, what is going on would be a greater hysteria than what we're experiencing with the drones. And I believe it's that Russia has a sub off our coast. There. I'm going to let Putin speak in his own words. In recent days, we've seen and heard very high-level discussion in the UK about the Kiev regime being able to strike deep into Russian territory with long-range Western weapons. Now, this is what everyone freaked out about when Biden allowed Ukraine to use our long-range weapons. And Putin warned us. He told us what he was going to do. He says, we're thinking that if they consider it possible to deliver such weapons to the combat zone to launch, strike on our territory and create problems for us, why don't we have the right to supply weapons of the same type to some regions around the world? Use such strikes on sensitive facilities. If they did it to Russia, of course such actions will finally, they have already reached the highest degree, but they will completely destroy international relations and undermining international security. And ultimately, if we see that, these countries, they're inviting us into a war, direct involvement in the war against the Russian Federation, and we reserve the right to act in the same way. They have said that they believe that if we give long-range weapons, and we tried hiding behind, well, we're not actually going to pilot the weapons.
I'm talking about what happened in the wake of long-range Western weapons being used in the Special Military Operations Zone. As a result of the escalation, in the United States and their NATO allies said that they give their permission to use long-range weapons against targets inside Russia. Experts know fully well, and the Russian side has underscored this time and again, that using such weapons without the direct involvement of military operators from manufacturing countries is impossible.
Now he's saying it's impossible for the UK to actually use these weapons. He knows that we have to be the ones that fire them with our little headgear out of Beale Air Force Base in Sacramento, that we're the ones that are actually, because the Ukrainians, they're too caveman to be able to run these weapons. And very important, Putin says, maybe the key is that not only we can service them, these missile systems, Ukrainian servicemen cannot do this. And so this is not about allowing the Ukrainian regime to strike Russia with these long-range weapons or not. It's about deciding whether NATO countries are directly involved in a military conflict or not. If this decision is made, it will mean nothing other than the direct participation of NATO countries, of the United States, European countries in the war in Ukraine. This is their direct participation. And this already, of course, significantly changes the very essence of the nature of the conflict. This would mean that NATO countries, the United States, European countries, are at war with Russia. And that is the case, then, bearing in mind the change in the very essence of this conflict, we will take appropriate decisions based on the threats that will be posed to us. What decision did he choose to make, I wonder, given he knows who's actually doing the long-range missiles?
In the updated version of the document, aggression against Russia by any non-nuclear state, but with the support of a nuclear state, is proposed to be considered as their joint attack on Russia. Russia will also consider the possibility of using nuclear weapons when receiving reliable information about a massive launch of means of aerospace attack and their crossing of our state border. This includes strategic and tactical aircraft, as well as cruise missiles and drones, hypersonic and other delivery vehicles. Russia reserves the right to use nuclear weapons in case of aggression, including if the enemy, using conventional weapons, poses a critical threat.
Okay. He warned everybody, look, I think he's a liar and a propagandist and a murderer. Okay. So I'm not saying he's the good guy. I'm not taking his side. I'm only saying he told all of America exactly what he intended to do. Now, look at this. This is a drone that I'm showing you that has vertical takeoff. Its wings can tilt forward to allow it to fly like an airplane, so it can look like a drone and hover, or it can open its wings up and fly just like a normal plane, which looks like some version of this plane flying over New Jersey right now. And I have more proof of it. We're just going to keep watching this for just a second.
That folds its wings during flight to transition between rotorcraft.
Now, this is a public knowledge drone that the U.S. has a contract with. Here's the description of that drone. I think it's a Aerodynamics XP4 transwing drone. Note the stubby nose, the wings, dual forking fins. The Aerodynamics XP4 is being developed for the U.S. Navy as a recon and logistics drone capable of picking up and dropping off packages between a moving ship, including in high seas and high winds. As the name suggests, it's a transwing design, which transitions between quadcopter and fixed wing modes for both long-range flight and VTOL capabilities. So it can hover pretty much at will. It has a 1-hour flight time at max payload, but could have been upgraded. It's about 13 feet wide by 6 feet long, about the dimension of a compact SUV, consistent with witness statements. And the flight path leads directly from the coast up to northern New Jersey. And wouldn't you know it, right where it's most commonly seen, we find Joint Base McGuire, Dix, Lakehurst, home of the Naval Air Warfare Center Aircraft Division, whose whole job is to research and, get this, test and support aircraft for Navy combat operations. So they're probably coming off of our Navy ships, which is why we wouldn't want to hunt their location and give it away to the public and to Russia, because there's probably a Russian sub right off the coast of New Jersey, and we have our ships out there running drones. The drones could be part of a normal defense operation. They could spray, shrapnel in the air if Russia decided to try to nuke us, and they could try and catch it out in the ocean. They could just be doing general recon. You're saying, John Mike Keene, why in the world would Russia send a sub to New Jersey? I'm just going to show you this article that I remember reading. This is from June of this year. Russian nuclear sub frigate with long-range land attack missile operating off the East Coast. So we already saw one out there off our East Coast. And Russia's already threatened to say that I don't believe they're going to attack us. Putin is only doing this because he knows he has till January 20th before Trump is inaugurated, and then all these threat games end. So while we're weak, while Biden's still in office, he's going to play war games. He doesn't mean anything by it. There's not going to be an attack, guys. I don't want to make anyone afraid. He's only playing with us because he's weak. This goes away January 20th. But I think they put a sub out there to show us, hey, pull off your long range out of the Ukraine. That's my theory. I'm standing by it. What do you guys think? Did I plausibly make my case? It makes perfect sense why the drones would be there, why our Department of Defense doesn't want to tell America, hey, there's a nuclear Russian sub right off the coast. I'm John Mike Keene.